There are n counters in Alfie's bag. Alfie puts 3 more counters in the bag. Write an expression for the number of counters that are in the bag now. So our expression is n plus 3 because 3 counters have been added to the counters that he already had. So if he had 10 counters, if n was 10, then he put 3 more in, so that would give him 13 counters, and 10 plus 3 is 13. Now Megan has 2 boxes. There are m counters in each box. She puts all her counters together in a pile, then removes 5 of them. Write an expression for the number of counters that are in the pile now. So there are the same number of counters. There are m counters in each box. She's put them together in a pile. So she's got 2 times m, or m plus m, and then she's removed 5 of them, so that's minus 5. So our expression could be written as 2m minus 5. 2 times m because she's put the 2 boxes together, and then minus 5 because she's removed or taken away 5 of them. So if there were 10 counters in each box, that would be 2 times 10, so 20 minus 5 is 15. And that makes sense because if there were 10 counters in each box, when she puts all her counters together in a pile, that will be 20 counters. But then when she removes 5 of them, that will be 20 minus 5, so 15. Here is a trapezium with a height of 10 centimetres. The parallel sides are 5.5 centimetres long and 10.5 centimetres long. Find the area of the trapezium. So one way to do this is to split the trapezium into a rectangle and a triangle. Then we can work out the area of a rectangle because we know that this length is 5.5 and this length is 10, so we can multiply those numbers to find the area of the rectangle. Then we can work out the area of the triangle, because if this length is 5.5 and the total length is 10.5, this length here must be 5, because 5.5 plus 5 is 10.5, and then the height will be 10. So to find the area of the rectangle, we can work out 10 times 5.5 because we multiply the length by the width, and that gives us an area of 55 centimetres squared. Now to find the area of a triangle, we can multiply the base by the height and then divide by 2. So 5 times 10 is 50, or 10 times 5 is 50, divided by 2 is 25. So the triangle has an area of 25 centimetres squared. But we want the area of the whole trapezium, so we need to add the area of the rectangle and the area of the triangle. And that gives us an area of 80 centimetres squared. Now there is a formula for finding the area of a trapezium. So what you can do is add up the 2 parallel sides, divide by 2, and then multiply by the height. So we could add 5.5 and 10.5, so that gives us 16. We can then divide by 2 to get 8, because half of 16 is 8. And then we can multiply 8 by 10 to get an area of 80. Here is a regular decagon with 2 diagonals drawn in. Calculate the sizes of angles A, B and C. So it's a decagon, which is a 10-sided shape, and the word regular tells us that all of the sides are the same length. Now what we can do is split our decagon into 10 sections by joining the middle of the decagon to each corner. So then we can remember that angles around a point add up to 360 degrees. So angles around a point means that we have a point so this point in the middle, and then in whichever direction we move, we get to an angle. So A will be 1/10 of 360, because each of these pieces are the same size, and A is 1/10 of a turn. So 360 divided by 10 is 36, so that tells us that this angle here will be 36 degrees, because if we have 10 angles that are 36 degrees each, that gives us a total of 360, and angles around a point total 360 degrees. But now we need to work out angle B. So we know that this angle here will be 36 degrees as well, and we need to spot that we have an isosceles triangle. Now in a triangle, angles add up to 180 degrees, so if we subtract 36, that tells us that these two angles here will have a total of 144. And because it's a regular shape, these two angles at the bottom of the triangle will be the same. So if the two together are 144, to find each of our angles, so to find angle B, we can divide 144 by 2, and that gives us 72. So angle B is 72 degrees, because this angle here will be the same, so will be 72 as well. This angle will be 36, and 72 plus 72 plus 36 gives a total of 180, and there are always 180 degrees in a triangle. So now we need to find angle C. If angle B is 72 degrees and it's a regular shape, then these angles that make up angle C will both be 72 degrees, and 72 plus 72 is 144, so that's the size of angle C. 1/3 of this square is shaded, so they've told us that this is 1/3, but the square isn't divided into 3 pieces. So to make this question easier to solve, if we divide the other piece in half, that will give us 3 pieces altogether, so make it clearer that this shaded piece is 1/3. The same square is used in the diagrams below. What fraction of this diagram is shaded? Well, if, again, we split each of the squares into 3 pieces, so that we know that this is 1/3 of a square, we can see that we now have 2 pieces shaded and 6 pieces altogether. So we have 2/6, and we can simplify 2/6 by dividing the numerator and denominator by 2, so that tells us that 1/3 of this diagram is shaded. Now, what fraction of this diagram is shaded? Again, we can split each of our squares in 3, because this shaded piece is 1/3 of 1 square. So now we have 1 piece shaded, but we have 9 equal pieces, 9 equal parts altogether, so our fraction is 1/9. Write the missing digits to make the calculation correct. So we have a short division. So 15 divided by 4 is 3 remainder 3, because 3 times 4 is 12, and then we need 3 more to get to 15. So now we have 31 divided by 4. That's 7 remainder 3. But because we've got to the end of our whole number, we need to write a decimal point and then a 0, so that we can write our remainder 3 in front of our tenths digit. So 7 times 4 is 28, but then we need 3 more to get to 31. Now we have 30 divided by 4. That's 7 remainder 2, because 7 times 4 is 28, and then we need 2 more to get to 30. And that means we have 20 divided by 4, which is 5. So our missing digits are 3 and 7. Calculate the volume of the prism. So remember, a prism is a 2D shape that's been stretched out. So we have a triangle at this end, we'll have a triangle at the other end, and then we have rectangular or square faces in the middle. So what we can do to work out the volume of the prism is to work out the area of the triangle and then multiply that by the depth of the prism. To find the area of a triangle, we multiply the base by the height and then divide by 2. So we can see that the base is 4 centimetres, the height is 3 centimetres, 4 times 3 is 12, divided by 2 is 6. So the area of the triangle is 6 centimetres squared. So to find the volume of the prism, we can take that area and multiply it by the depth of the prism. So the depth is 3 centimetres, so 6 centimetres squared, the area of the triangle times 3 centimetres is 18 centimetres cubed. So that's the volume of the prism. The other way of working this out would be to spot that this prism will be half the area of a cuboid with dimensions 4 times 3 times 3. So we could find the area of the cuboid and then divide by 2. 4 times 3 is 12, times 3 is 36, and if we divide that by 2, because the prism is half the area of a full cuboid, 36 divided by 2 is 18. These are the prices of fruit in a shop. Oranges are 5 for 90 pence and cherries are 80 pence for 100 grams. Emma buys 15 oranges. How much does she pay? Well, we know that 5 oranges are 90p, but she buys 15. So 5 times 3 is 15, which means we need to multiply 90 pence by 3, and that gives us £2.70 as the amount that Emma pays. Now, Reshma buys some cherries. They cost £1.20. How many grams of cherries does she buy? Well, we know that 80p gets you 100 grams of cherries, but she spends £1.20. We can't multiply 80 pence by anything, or at least not by a whole number, to get £1.20. So what we can do instead is first divide 80 pence by 2, and 80 divided by 2 is 40, and then if we divide 100 grams by 2, that gives us 50 grams. So for 40 pence, you can buy 50 grams, and £1.20 is 3 times 40 pence, or 40 pence times 3. So if we multiply 50 by 3, that tells us that you can get 150 grams of cherries for £1.20. Calculate the area of the parallelogram. So the area is the amount of space that a shape takes up, and to find the area of a parallelogram, we multiply the base by the height. So we can see that the base is 7 centimetres, and the height is the length from the bottom to the top, so that's 4 centimetres. Now 7 times 4 is 28, so the area of the parallelogram is 28 centimetres squared. And it's important that we remember the height is the distance from bottom to top. It's not necessarily the same as a side length. In fact, it's not the same as a side length. So though they've told us that this length on the side is 5 centimetres, and we know because it's a parallelogram that this length will be 5 centimetres as well, we don't want the side length, we want the height. We want the distance from bottom to top. So that's why we need to multiply the base, multiply 7 by 4, not by 5. John makes a sequence of numbers. His rule is to add the same amount each time. write in the missing numbers. So we've been given -1 and 19. And to get from -1 to 19, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps. So that's 4 equal jumps because he adds the same amount each time. And that's a difference of 20. The difference between -1 and 19 is 20 because from -1 to get to 0, we need to add 1, and then we need to add another 19 from 0 to get to 19. So that's adding 1 and then 19, so adding 20 altogether. And if we know that the difference is 20 and we have 4 equal jumps, we can divide 20, divide the difference by the number of jumps, and that tells us that there will be an increase of 5 with each jump. So to find this box here, we need -1 plus 5. That's 4 because from -1, if we add 1, that gets us to 0, and then because we want to add 5 altogether, we need to add 4 more, because if we add 1 and then 4, that's adding 5, and 0 plus 4 is 4. Then 4 plus 5 is 9, 9 plus 5 is 14, and 14 plus 5 is 19. P and Q each stand for whole numbers. P plus Q equals 1000. P is 150 greater than Q. Calculate the numbers P and Q. So we have P and Q, and we know that the total is 1000. P is 150 greater, so we can draw a bar and then 150, and if we copy down the bar for Q, we know that these two bars will be the same size, because to get P, we have the same as Q plus another 150. So these two bars together are 1000 minus 150, so that's 850 for these two bars together. And if two equal bars are 850, to find each bar, we can divide that by 2, and that gives us 425 for these bars here. So that means that Q is 425, P is 425 plus 150, so that's 575. And then we can check 575 plus 425 is 1000, and 575 is 150 more or greater than 425. The other way of working this out is to imagine a number line, so between 0 and 1000. Because P plus Q is 1000, the mean or average of P and Q will be half of 1000, so 500. We know that P is 150 greater, so that's the difference. But if we divide the difference by 2, that gives us 75. So we know that Q must be 75 less than 500, so 425, and then P will be 75 more, so 575.